Welcome back to Old School Sports and our Football Manager 2024 series, Help Me Play as Chelsea Football Club. And we are winding down our one season experiment in Football Manager 2024, heading into the final few months of the season. And Chelsea has been playing reasonably well lately. We're fifth in the English Premier League. And ever since that disappointing loss in the FA Cup third round to Middlesbrough, we've been undefeated over our past 6 games in the Premier League. 3 wins and 3 draws. Hasn't necessarily been the most exciting brand of football, with only 8 goals scored for us in those 6 games. But with only 4 goals allowed, still doing pretty well, all things considered. Given that our Cup season was not particularly successful this year, we've got a very quiet month of March ahead of us. We've got Brighton and Bournemouth, and then we've got almost 2 weeks until our next EPL game against Nottingham Forest. So we've put a couple of friendlies onto the calendar to hopefully keep the team in some degree of fitness and shape, and also hopefully get an opportunity to get a little more playing time to some of our younger players in friendlies. We're going to be hosting both FC Porto and our affiliate Strasbourg in the month of March. And then after that, we've got 5 games on the calendar in April, 3 games in May, and the season is over. So hopefully we can remain near the top of the table. Certainly not a serious contender to win at this point. 20 points behind Man City and 16 points behind both Liverpool and Arsenal. But would certainly love to remain one of the top 5 or 6 teams in the league when all is said and done. It's been an interesting learning experience for me. Appreciate all of you who have shared thoughts and advice on how to play FM better, which I know is a relatively low bar in terms of the level of advice that you need to share with me, but do appreciate all of the help that many of you have given me over the last few months as we've been playing in Football Manager, and looking forward to learning a little more over these last few episodes of the series, and hopefully finishing up with a more than respectable season here for Chelsea. And we did have to make one change. Unfortunately, our affiliate was too busy to schedule the friendly with us, so we're going to instead be hosting LASK of the Austrian Premier Division in the friendly on the 23rd of the month. And we're getting ready for our match against Brighton, and Stanley Rosella indicated to me in comments in the last episode that he thought that I was going to have a very difficult time out coaching Roberto De Zerbi, who is supposedly one of the most revolutionary young coaches in all of international football. So should be a good challenge for myself and Chelsea here today. Like the lineup that we've got out there, and we'll see if we can keep our streak of very good performances in the EPL going here today. And we've been putting a lot of pressure on Brighton throughout the first half here, and finally just got our first goal on Nicholas Jackson. Pretty much all about him. Nice pass from Sterling to make it happen, and Chelsea is up 1-0 here. And right before halftime, Nicholas Jackson added a second goal, so it's been a dominant first half performance by the Blues thus far, although our time of possession only 48%, but you can see we put a lot of pressure on the back end of their roster, and 2 goals on 6 on-target shots, both by Nicholas Jackson, who's having an outstanding game for us, taking some of the feedback that we've been given in the questions that we asked in our last episode. Not going to necessarily lock our positive mentality down pretty significantly. Probably will stay positive for the first 20 minutes or so of the second half, and then maybe go into a balanced mentality. But going to try to take some of the feedback that I've been given about going into a very defensive mode sometimes can just ensure that the ball ends up in our end of the field for an extended period of time and result in some chances, which is exactly what we're trying to give up, trying to avoid. So with the goal of at most giving up one goal the rest of the way, we're going to likely remain aggressive for the time being. And here in the 83rd minute, Nkunku, who came on as a sub, beautiful shot from way out there, shocking goal in some ways, and it gives Chelsea a 3-0 lead. So we are very likely to end up with 3 points today and continue our 7-match win unbeaten streak here in the Premier League. Great performance from Chelsea. You can see Nkunku with the goal in the 84th minute. The expected goals were much more even in the second half, but we did only go from positive to balanced in terms of our outlook, and ended up being a very strong performance and an excellent victory for Chelsea here. Pleased to get this one. Got one left before we have a break of about 3 weeks between those Premier League matches. And in the early stages of this game against Bournemouth, a little give and go between Lavia and Reece James, and James puts that one away. Beautiful shot there to give us an early 1-0 lead here as we try to keep this excellent run of football going for Chelsea. And we just got a second goal here. Mudryk with his third goal of the season. Conor Gallagher to Colwill to Chalobah, and then Mudryk takes care of it himself, puts that one in the back of the net, and a 2-0 lead here for Chelsea. And it's getting ugly now. Another goal for Chelsea here in the 35th minute. Levi Colwill over to Enzo Fernandez to Romeo Lavia, and he blasts that one past the hapless goalie, who must be getting shell-shocked at this point. And just when I was feeling really good about things, Bournemouth, of course, comes back and scores. Cole Palmer, who we just brought into the game to replace an injured Armando Broja, gives up the ball and kind of deflected there. So a 3-1 lead here, but it looks like there's some more action in our end of the field going on right now. So been a lot of offense here today, and things are now 3-2. So 5 goals here in the first half of action, and we are still not done with about 3 minutes of extra time expected. So as we head to halftime, we do have that 3-2 lead, but you can see here we've perhaps gotten a bit lucky to have those 3 goals, although 7 of our 8 shots were on target. Expected goals, we are definitely being outclassed in that category today. Bournemouth has really surged back recently. We are dominating the time of possession. Hopefully we can keep this victory. Thought it was going to be relatively easy when we jumped out to that 3-0 lead, but it is never easy, is it? And we just increased our lead up to 2 here. Thiago Silva came on as a substitute to Moises Caicedo, Conor Gallagher, and then Mudryk with a nice score there. Second goal of the game for Mykhailo Mudryk, and the lead is back to 4-2. Hopefully we can keep the momentum going. And probably should have just kept watching that play that I stopped because it ended up being another goal. Conor Gallagher with a great pass to Mudryk, and Mudryk with an incredible shot here to complete the hat trick. 5 goals on the season, for the young forward. 3 of them here today. He's having a fantastic game for Chelsea. And sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, but we'll take it today. The expected goals in this game were very even, although we did dominate the time of possession and have a lot more shots on goal. Mudryk with the hat trick, which was brilliant, and some of the shots that we hit were just incredible. Low percentage shots, and we hit multiple low percentage shots today, but we'll take it. A 5-2 victory following the 3-0 victory in our last game. So was mentioning how we only had 8 goals in our last 6 games as we started this episode. Well, we've got 8 in these first 2 games of the month of March, and now we've got a nice break to feel good about ourselves and this 8-game unbeaten streak before we'll finish off with that final game of the month of March. And we've made it to our youth intake for the year. A couple pretty interesting prospects. Young goalkeeper Danilo Arnott. Goalkeeper is an area where we need some help now. Certainly Arnott is not the answer there, but it'll be good to have him on board, and hopefully we can help his development in the coming years. Also, Aaron Harold, probably the highest ceiling of any of the players in this potential class. Looks like he could potentially be a useful forward for us in the future. Only 15 years old at this point, already 6'1", so certainly brings some interesting things to the table. Probably will look on trying to improve some of his abilities over the next few years as well. And I guess as I think about the class, any thoughts from viewers as far as what you normally do? Are you judicious with the number of players that you offer contracts to? Do you pretty much offer it to all of the top and good talents? Do you offer contracts to the decent talents for the heck of it? Or is the likelihood of success from those lower level prospects such that it's not even worth offering contracts to them? Any thoughts on how those of you who are more experienced in this game than I handle those things would be greatly appreciated. And some good news here. Wesley Fofana, the center defender who has missed the entire season following recovery from damaged cruciate ligaments, about to begin rehab. So full training about a month from now. So we should be able to see him at the end of this season in a few Premier League games, which will be important since we'll be moving on from Thiago Silva at the end of the year. Would be good to see what the young center defender Wesley Fofana can do over the last few games of the season. And we got a 1-0 win in our friendly against Porto. Dominated in terms of expected goals. Really only had 1 goal in the game, but it was a beautiful one, a set play, and Reece James on the corner. Benoit Badiashile headed it in beautifully for a great goal. The only negative is that the young striker Wilfried Nanto suffered an injury in the 13th minute. Sure, we'll be hearing more about that in the coming days. And back to Nanto, looks like the 20-year-old wonder kid has a torn hamstring, going to be out for a couple of months. So it very well could mean the end of his first season in Chelsea. Ended up appearing for us in 21 Premier League games, including 8 starts, scored 3 goals and an assist. Still think he's a player that could be a pretty useful player for us in the future. I think we got a pretty good deal on him when we purchased him. His value is in the $80 to $100 million range at this point, and think that he could still have a big future for us. And as expected for an EPL team against a team from the Austrian Premier League, had a very good performance against LASK. We had a number of players who were out on international duty, but it gave us a nice opportunity to see a few more experienced players with a lot of younger players, some of whom recently just came in through the youth intake. Not surprisingly, the top squad players were pretty dominant. Cole Palmer assisted Conor Gallagher on an early goal. Conor Gallagher returned the favor to Cole Palmer, and then Cole Palmer added a second goal just a minute later. So just one game left in the month of March, about a week from now, and we'll see if we can keep this excellent run that Chelsea has been on going. And unfortunately, we had some pretty significant injuries while key players were away on international duty. Striker Nicholas Jackson out 3 to 4 weeks with sprained ankle ligaments. And Mykhailo Mudryk out 3 to 4 weeks with a twisted ankle. So a couple of pretty important players to our offense will be gone. We also lost Nanto, the striker who's been coming off the bench for us more often than not. So don't want to say that the team is in crisis, but certainly not an optimal situation to be losing a lot of our top offensive players here as we head into the final several weeks of the season. And we still should be favored today home against Nottingham Forest. They're 18th in the EPL table, and we will have the home pitch advantage. So pretty much a pretty traditional lineup for us as far as our defensemen and our midfielders. A little bit different up front, where Cole Palmer will be starting and Nkunku will be our striker. As I noted, we are definitely hurting in terms of our front line right now, with Nanto, Jackson, and Mudryk all out with injuries. And I didn't even mention that Broha also picked up an injury while he was away on international duty for Albania. So definitely don't have the front line that we would normally have, but hopefully it'll be enough to get us through this next game and continue this excellent run that Chelsea's had. And I did kind of feel in my back of my mind that this might be a challenging game for us and a pretty bad goal to give up here. Sanchez came out, no one in front of the goal as he was unable to handle the ball there, and we're down 1-0. Hopefully we can keep this good streak going, but I did kind of feel like this is exactly the type of game that we'll end up losing with the vagaries of how performances go in Football Manager. Unfortunately, we did knot things up here early in the second half. Raheem Sterling with a nice pass to Enzo Fernandez, and then a brilliant shot from Enzo to knot things up at 1-1. Hopefully we'll be able to get another goal and get out of here with 3 points rather than only one. And unfortunately, we ended up giving up a goal in the 69th minute to Origi. And although we had a pretty dominant performance, we were more than double in expected goals, 17 shots, 6 on target. One of those Football Manager specials where we're on a long unbeaten run near the top of the Premier League table at home against a team fighting against relegation. And don't know how significant the injuries that we had were, because as you can see, we put a ton of expected goals and a ton of offense out there, but only one of them went into the net. And unfortunately, our long Premier League unbeaten streak has finally come to an end. And as I noted, definitely disappointing to get the loss after a 9-game unbeaten streak, especially at home against a team that, as I mentioned, was near the end of the table. Still in a pretty good position in the league table here, 4th overall, free by 2 points on Newcastle, Man United, and Tottenham. But things are definitely closer than they should be after that most recent loss. Unfortunately, to Nottingham Forest's credit, that victory gets them out of relegation territory, at least temporarily. And as we get to April Fool's Day, Romeo Lavia just won the English Premier Division Young Player of the Month award. And he dedicated the award to his head coach, Old School Sports. So thank you, Romeo. And as we get to our evaluation for the last month, B- from the board. Pleased with the wins against Bournemouth and Newcastle, but disappointing about the defeat against Nottingham Forest. So was I. The supporters generally pleased with us as well, but certainly the Nottingham Forest lost in our last game was definitely a bitter way to end this month of March. Taking a look at the table now, we've dipped down to 5th with Newcastle just winning, a point behind them and 2 points ahead of Manchester United here as we head into the final couple months of the season. You can see Man City has already clinched UEFA Champions League qualification for next year. We've got some work to do to ensure that we'll be playing at the European level next year. But we've got a lot of games left to hopefully make that happen. As I mentioned, we've been in really good form lately. Have a lot of big games ahead of us before this season will be over. We've got 2 games in the next 6 days, Aston Villa and Brentford, and then we'll have Crystal Palace, Sheffield United, and the Wolves to finish out the month of April. Tottenham, Fulham, and Liverpool before the season is finally over. Only 3 of these last 7 games are going to be at home, but hopefully we'll be able to do well enough to ensure that we will be playing in Europe next season. But I expect it's going to be a challenging month ahead of us with 4 pretty important offensive players on the mend. Hopefully we'll get some back over the next few weeks, but we're not going to be playing with a full deck of players, unfortunately, over these last several games of the year, but hopefully we'll still be able to put up a solid and representative performance. Until our next episode, thanks so much for watching, and hope you have a great day.